my dear students. I am Vishali Korapati, Assistant Professor in Vignan University. Good morning, my dear students. Today I am going to talk about the drugs used in congestive heart failure. So let's start. What is, first of all, let's see what is the congestive heart failure means. Okay, so what is congestive heart failure is insufficient blood supply. When heart is pumping, it will give one output, right? Yesterday I told you cardiac output, whether it is left ventricle or right ventricle, it have to pump. Okay, when it is pumping, it has to reach us to our systemic circulation, like till my end of the toe, isn't it? When it is unable to supply that much amount of blood, what will happen? Obviously my toe will get damaged, because the area which is over there, like the tissue over my toe, will get damaged. That is congestive heart failure. Gradually what will happen? This blood supply will be reduced more and more and more and more. Someday the heart will stop. Okay, why we are facing this type of insufficient blood supply to our tissues, why our cardiac output is not correct? Because due to our ventricular filling, or maybe is due to our ventricular contraction. To know this, we have to, first of all, we have to know two types of dysfunctions. One is systolic dysfunction and the other one is diastolic dysfunction. Yesterday we already learned what is systolic dysfunction. If you see this one, this is like wall tension. You won't have sufficient wall tension to give that ejection. Okay, for example, if you see here, here if I don't have sufficient wall tension, okay, so think this is my wall. Okay, if I drag more, if I have more wall tension, then it will contract more, isn't it? But if there is less wall tension, actually the wall tension should be this much. But what if the wall tension is only till this much? So it can't contract, isn't it? And it can't pump the blood which we are expecting, isn't it? That's why the systolic dysfunction will causes the CHF. Okay, congestive heart failure is also known as CHF. Okay, ma. The CHF occurs, like this systolic dysfunction occurs in only few conditions, like ischemic heart disease, valvular incompetence, and dilated cardiomyopathy, myocarditis, and tachyarrhythmiasis. Let's see what is ischemic heart disease. Ischemic heart disease is nothing but there won't be enough blood supply to our heart, to any part of the heart. Okay, might be to ventricle or right ventricle, or might be to left ventricle. Imagine my cardiac output is not correct. Okay, if my cardiac output is not correct, how it will travel whole systemic circulation and how it will come back? So my right ventricle won't get the sufficient blood, isn't it? Though it is deoxygenated blood, it needs sufficient blood. If it fills the, if it is filling the vessel only, it can be contract sufficiently. If the filling is incomplete, how it will contract? Though it contracts, it won't have that pressure, right? Though my ventricle is contracting, if it is not getting sufficient blood, how it will push whole blood outside, isn't it, ma? That's the one thing. And valvular incompetency, when this leaflets, walls, the walls consist of leaves, right? For a tricuspid wall, it have three leaves, okay, leaflets. And for bicuspid wall, it have two leaflets, isn't it, ma? So when these leaflets are not working properly, at that time they won't close properly. When they are not closing properly, what will happen? When they actually, their structure should be like this. So when it is filling here, it will wait for a little time and it will open, and when it is contracting, when ventricles are contracting, this will close, so that the ventricles will send, like if it is the right ventricle, it will if it is left ventricle, it will send the blood to aorta. If it is right ventricle, it will send to pulmonary trunk, isn't it? So if this ventricles are so these leaflets are not working, what will happen? This will be like this only. So instead of when these ventricles are contracting, instead of going into aorta, it will go into again atrium, isn't it? That's why valvular incompetency also one reason for heart failure. And the next one is dilated cardiopathy. This dilated cardiopathy is like blood pump will get decreased, okay, due to the muscles. The cardiac muscles will be dilated when there is more space. Now only I told you, when there is more space and less blood, though it is contracting, it won't give sufficient blood supply, isn't it? The same thing happens here. And the next one is myocarditis. It is like inflammation of myocardium. Myocardium is the middle layer, isn't it? The myocardium layer will get, that is the main muscle for the contraction. So this layer will get inflamed. At that time, what will happen? The contractions and relaxations won't be proper. When there is no proper contractions or relaxations, what will happen? Heart won't pump the blood properly, isn't it? The same thing. And tachyarrhythmiasis. Tachy means fast. So the rhythms will be very fast. Okay, ma? So the next one is diastolic dysfunction. Here in systolic, it's like it will get dilated, and when it is contracting, it won't eject more blood, more quantity of blood. In this diastolic dysfunction, ventricular walls will get thickened and they won't be able to relax. Their contraction won't be happen due to the dilation. But here in diastolic, the relaxation won't be proper because of the thickening walls. For example, so if you see here, actual walls are this. Okay, so what happened if the walls are thickening? Here the ventricular wall got thickened, isn't it? So when blood is pumping, here this wall can pump blood sufficiently, but in left ventricle, right ventricle, it can't pump blood sufficiently, because as this got thickened, there won't be sufficient blood supply to that ventricle. Even blood won't fill in that ventricle properly. When it is not filling properly enough, and how it will give that blood to others, isn't it? If you are starving, how you will give food to others, isn't it? You don't have sufficient food, so how you will give? The same thing applies here. Okay, so that is diastolic dysfunction. So this will be in these conditions we will get so many conditions like sustained hypertension. Okay, like sometimes this is like low hypertension. Okay, it will be for prolonged days. And aortic stenosis. Aortic stenosis is like this aortic wall will get narrow, and it won't open properly. It won't open like, for example, this is aortic wall. When this aortic stenosis happens, this won't open like this. It have to open, but here it will open this much only. So what will happen? This won't supply sufficient blood to my whole body, isn't it? And congenital heart disease. This congenital heart disease is nothing but this will happen when during fetus stage. Okay, there will be lots of fluid in heart, and this will be when they are growing also, this fluid will be like that only in that heart. This will causes many problems in some conditions. The kid may die also. And the AV stunts, when their walls are not working properly, they will go for the stunts. Okay, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. This hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is like the half of the portion of the heart will get thickened, and there won't be sufficient blood supply to that area. For example, if it is my right atrium and right ventricle will get enlarged, thickened. Hypertrophy means increase of cells so that it will get thickened, the organ will get thickened. So this will happen only half of the part, either it is right or left. When it is swollen or enlarged, what will happen if it became thickened? Blood supply won't be sufficient, isn't it? Before going into the drugs, we have to know two more definitions. One is preload and the next one is afterload. Preload is stretching of the ventricles, okay, before it contracts. It's like if you see these ventricles, when before they are filling, they are stretching, right? If you see here correctly, before they are filling only they are stretching, isn't it? The same thing, before ventricles are filling, it have to stretch. When they have stretched, there will be so much gap, so blood will come inside and they will fill, and after filling then only they will contract. Okay, that is preload. The stretching period is preload. The degree of stretch, how much it is stretching, that is our preload. And afterload is like after filling it have to eject, right? That ejection is called as afterload. Preload is the degree of stretching, and afterload is how much pressure it is contracting and with how much pressure this blood is ejecting. That is our afterload. So let's see the classification. So before going into this classification, we have to know this congestive heart failure is like we will get strokes. So the first treatment, how we have to do, we have to divide it into two types. One is if it is in starting stage, first we have to relieve the symptoms, okay, and we have to restore the cardiac performances conditions. Okay, like previously it will pump very sufficiently, or it is very active in stage, we have to restore that condition. Okay, in the next stage is like if the disease is worst in condition, so then we have to see like we have to arrest the symptoms, like till there it should not go into worsen stage. Okay, at least it should be till there, not like worsen conditions. Okay, so we have to arrest the disease progression, or we have to reversal. Most condition, most of the condition we won't be able to reverse the conditions. Okay, and we have to prolong the survival of the patients. Okay, for example, by giving these drugs, we will prolong the patient life. Okay, so let's see the first one, which are like relieving the symptoms. This is inotropic drug. Previously, when there are no other drugs, this inotropic drug is the main drug which we used to use, like Distalis. Okay, this is the main drug previously, but now we have got so many drugs. Due to some disadvantages of this Distalis, we stopped using that. But now also we are using when the conditions, when the person is unable to take all these drugs, instead of that they are taking this Distalis, digoxin only. Okay, and the next one is diuretics, and the third one is RAS inhibitors. RAS inhibitors are nothing but renin angiotensin system inhibitors, and the next one is vasodilator. And last one is nitroprusside beta blocker. Okay, and when it comes to prolongation of the survival, ACE inhibitors or beta blockers, aldosterone antagonists. We will use spironolactone. Diuretics. What are diuretics? Actually, diuretics are the things like if we give diuretics, they will go frequent urinations. Okay, they will increase the excretion of salt and water. Okay, so why we are using this diuretics? The patients who have this congestive heart failure, they will be having more edema, like their hands will swollen. Mostly the person who have this congestive heart failure, they will be having swollen legs. That's why doctors suggest them to keep one pillow under their legs, so that when they keep this pillow, they will be raising their legs are above their heart level. The fluid flow will be reversed. Okay, that's why. But when it is not working, then they will go for this diuretics. Okay, so majority of the people who have this congestive heart, previously they used to say to keep this all pillows and everything, but now doctors, they are not taking any chances, because within few days, if this pillow won't work, patient will return again, and patient will go into panic situation by seeing his or her legs. So to avoid that, doctor now they are giving this diuretics immediately. Like they will give diuretics. So what diuretics will do in our body? First of all, as I told you, they will excrete more salt and water from their body. One more thing, ma, this is not there in your subject, but not there in your syllabus. But the patient who have this heart diseases, they have to reduce their intake of oil and salt. Why? Because if they have taken more salt, this will increase their blood pressure. More salt means more water content. If there is more I already told you, when there is more sodium, salt is nothing but sodium chloride, right? So when there is more sodium, there will be more water, because water and sodium, they both are like friends, isn't it? So when there is more sodium, there will be more water. So the patients who have this congestive heart failure or any heart diseases, they have to reduce the intake of this sodium. When there is less intake of this sodium, the water content will be less and the pressure will be reduced. Okay, ma? So when we are taking this diuretics, it will promote the salt and water excretion. Okay, excretion meaning is it will eliminate salt and water from our body through urine. Okay, this will decrease the circulatory volume. Now only I told you, and it will decrease the preload. Preload means the stretching, the filling condition will be decreased. The stretching conditions will be decreased. This will improve the cardiac function and decrease dyspnea and peripheral edema. Dyspnea is like they can't take the breathe properly. Okay, ma? And peripheral edema. I already told you edema is due to water. Edema, swollen, accumulation of water in our body. So every part will get swollen. Okay. So to avoid that, we will give two types of diuretics here. One is high ceiling diuretics and the other one is thiazide. What the main example for high ceiling diuretics are furosemide. So I will talk about this mechanism of action and everything in further classes. Don't worry. Okay. The main drug for high ceiling diuretic is furosemide. Okay, so most of the people who have this edema, they will go for furosemide. In like in market, we have drug called as Lasix. Okay, Lasix is a furosemide drug. Sometimes when the patient have swollen, too much swollen body, then they will go for intravenous. Otherwise we will take it orally. Okay, but very little quantity. We won't take it overdose. We will take a very little dose. Okay, and if the patient is having too much of edema, then they will take by IV. Okay, so this will relieve acute left ventricular failure. Okay, ma. Left ventricle, what is the function of left ventricle? Pumping of oxygenated blood, isn't it? So, what will happen in congestive heart failure? You will be having chest pain. You will feel discomfort near chest. We won't be able to recognize whether that chest pain is due to acidic or due to this congestive heart failures. Most of the patients will get confused due to this only. Okay, they will think this is acidic pain, so they will take this eno or any Gelusil, and they will sleep, but and they will get stroke in their sleep only. Okay, they will get discomfort in their chest. So this furosemide, what it will do, it will reduce the symptoms. Okay, this diuretic is for symptoms only, right? So this will reduce the symptom. In asympathetic sympathetic, this won't show any function now, because it is not showing. Asympathetic, if there is no fluid, this won't show any functions. uh, like uh, uh, you won't have any discomfort in your heart, or you won't feel anything. So when, if you take this diuretics or if you won't take this diuretic, there won't be much difference. Okay, so next one is but one more thing, ma, when we are taking this diuretics, it won't reduce my congestive heart failure. It will only decrease my symptoms. It won't repair my heart. Okay, my heart will be like that only. But the difference for previous heart and the heart which after diuretic treated will be like, the fluid will reduced. When the fluid is reduced, the pressure will reduced. Okay, when the pressure is reduced, heart will feel relaxed, isn't it? That's why we are giving diuretics. And not only that, fluid reduction will also reduce the edema in our body. This is only for symptoms, not for repairing your heart. The next one is aldosterone antagonist. So before going into aldosterone antagonist, let's see why we are taking aldosterone antagonist. Okay, what is aldosterone? Okay, aldosterone is it is a steroid hormone which is secreted by our kidney adrenal gland. Okay, ma. So what it will do, sometime it will directly or indirectly affect our heart function. How? It will expand the extracellular fluid. If there is more fluid, now only I told you, if there is more fluid, more blood pressure. So not only that, it will increase the cardiac preload. And the next one is fibroblast proliferation. Fibroblast is the main reason for our cardiac muscle contraction. When there is more fibroblast, what will happen? The cells won't repair themselves, and it will change the myocardium layer also, and the layer will become thickened. For example, okay, this cells will increase. When the cells are increasing, the layer will increase, and this will become thickened. Okay, when the layer is become thickening, I already told you in the introduction. Okay, when the layer is become thickened, how it will contract or how it will relax? It is very difficult to relax also, isn't it? And it won't pump the sufficient blood. So this will increase, aldosterone will increase fibroblast proliferation. This will worsen the conditions of systolic dysfunction and remodeling. Okay, and it will be worsening this cardiac remodeling also. And also aldosterone main function is, it will excrete potassium more. It will secrete sodium and water, reabsorb sodium and water, and it will excrete more potassium. When it is excreting more potassium, what about the potassium levels in our body? They will go down, right? That's why we will get hypokalemia. And not only that, it will excrete magnesium also. That's the reason we will be less of this potassium and magnesium. That's why we will get this hypokalemia and hypomagnesemia. So what will happen if there is less potassium? You will be there will be ventricular uh, rhythms. There will be increased ventricular rhythms, okay? And not only that, this will cause a sudden cardiac death also. The patient will get sudden stroke and the patient will die. To avoid that, we will give aldosterone antagonist. Let's once again discuss what aldosterone will do. Okay, aldosterone first function is it will increase the extracellular fluid. How? It will take sodium, it will reabsorb sodium and water from our nephron. Okay, so it is reabsorbing. After that, it will increase the extracellular fluid. If it is increasing the extracellular fluid, it will increase the cardiac preload. Not only that, it will do fibroblast proliferation. When it is increasing the fibroblast cell, what will happen? Myocardium layer will get changed. It will get thickened. When there is thickened cell, will this contract properly or will this relax properly? No, right? So it will worsen the systolic dysfunction. Okay, and the next one is, as I told you, it will excrete more potassium and more magnesium. Our body will go into hypokalemia and hypomagnesemia. At that condition, we will be at increased risk of vascular arrhythmias. Okay, and the patient may die suddenly because it will causes sudden stroke. So when we are taking this aldosterone antagonist, we have to follow some conditions. Okay, so when we have to take this aldosterone antagonist, we should take it in disease progression only. Like when it is in starting stage, no need of taking this. If we take this diuretics, that is sufficient. And it will what it will do, it will stop the worsen conditions, like it won't damage the cardiac more. So this is not only to recover the symptoms, it is also for treating the heart. It is not only for symptoms, but it is also for treatment of heart. Okay, so we should not give this aldosterone antagonist alone. We should combine with ACE inhibitors plus or beta blockers. Okay, it should be given like a treatment, and we have to start it with low dosages like 12.5 mg per day or 225 mg per day. And then we have to, when this is going, when our body gets resisted to this, then we have to increase gradually, and the maximum will be 25. Okay, adverse effects are gynecomastia. Why we will get gynecomastia? Because in male patients we will see this aldosterone antagonist, when it is decreasing the testosterone level and increasing the estrogen levels, male patients will have this gynecomastia. Gynecomastia is nothing but the patient breast size will increase. In males, the breast size will increase. That is gynecomastia. So the next one is renin-angiotensin system inhibitors. So before going to this, let's see what is happening in renin-angiotensin system. So this is our renin-angiotensin system. Mostly we can also call as renin-angiotensin aldosterone system. Okay. So what is happening here? First, our liver will produce angiotensinogen. Okay, with the help of renin, which is given by our kidney, it will be converted into angiotensin 1. Okay, with the help of angiotensin converting enzyme, it will convert into angiotensin 2. Okay, and from angiotensin 2, what it will do, this angiotensin will go and bind to angiotensin receptor. Okay, while it is going and binding, it will do two functions. When it is binding here, first it will do cardiac and vascular hypertrophy. I already told you what is hypertrophy. Ma, cardiac hypertrophy means it will increase the cells of the heart. So when it is increasing the cells, the layer hypertrophy, here if you see the ventricular, here vascular layer, right, cardiac layer. So the ventricular layer will be thickened because of the enlargement of the muscle. So here the walls get thickened. The next one is vasoconstriction, which we don't need now, and it will also do another function, this renal sodium and fluid retention, which is due to this aldosterone. When it is going and binding, aldosterone is released from our adrenal cortex. Our kidney will release this aldosterone. So this will retain the sodium and water retention. I already told you there in previous this thing. So this will increase our thirst. Okay, ma. So this is the function. Now what it is, according to our heart, what it is doing, it is making difficult to pump. It won't, when it is not filling properly, how we will get sufficient. So when we are taking this renin angiotensin inhibitor, what it will do, like ACE inhibitors, this ACE inhibitor, they will go in this step. Here it will block this enzyme. When it is blocking this enzyme, this angiotensin 1 won't convert into angiotensin 2. When this angiotensin 2 is not going and binding here, you won't get hypertrophy. So obviously this is reversing the heart, this thing. Okay, and not only that, it is repairing my heart, isn't it, ma? And not only that, it will be take care of all the symptoms and everything. Next one is vasodilators. Vasodilator is nothing but the vessels will get dilated, so the space will be more. Okay, we will give this in three conditions. Okay, ma. When the heart walls will get narrowed, when there is no option, then we will give this vasodilators. We will give through IV. Okay. So first one is preload reduction. In this preload reduction, we will see, you know what is preload. We will reduce that preload. So how? We will give nitrate. Nitrate is a vasodilator. In this preload reduction, we are giving nitrate. It will dilate the vessel, and when it is dilating, it will increase the systemic capacity. So when it is dilating, it will give more cardiac output, isn't it, ma? And also it will reduce ventricular and diastolic pressure. What is this ventricular diastolic pressure? Ventricles will get stretched, and our ventricles, blood should fill in that ventricles, and that pressure, how much it is stretching, that pressure is known as end diastolic, ventricular and diastolic pressure. Okay, that will be reduced, that stretching and that pressure will be reduced, and even the volume will get reduced. When the volume is getting reduced, the pressure on the walls will get reduced. For example, my blood flow is very my blood pressure is high. Okay, so my walls will, if there is more pressure, the walls will get ruptured, right? Instead, my vessels got dilated now. Okay, and my volume get reduced. So what is happening ultimately? This flow will be, my walls will be safe, isn't it? And this is reducing the symptoms also. Next one is afterload reduction. You know, afterload, it's like relaxation. So hydrazalin, what it will do? It will increase the resistance. Here also it will dilate. By dilating, it will increase the resistance of the vessel. Okay, when it is increasing the resistance, it will increase the aortic impedance. Previously I told, when there is not sufficient opening of this aortic wall, blood flow won't be proper, right? Now in this hydrazalin, what it will do, it will open this aortic wall properly. Because of the dilation, it will open properly. Okay, when it is opening properly, when ventricles won't contract, even that can give more blood supply. Okay, here my ventricles are weakened. Okay, so instead of this much ventricle, my ventricles became like this, and due to that my aortic walls have slightly opened, not proper opened. So I am unable to, my ventricles are unable to contract, isn't it, ma? But here, when I'm giving this hydrazalin, what will happen? My ventricles, though my ventricles are weak, my aortic walls have opened properly, isn't it? And my ventricles got dilated. Now, if I'm pumping, even this contraction will give, the weaker ventricular contraction will also supply more blood to my whole body. Okay. Actually, our pumping should be like 5 liters uh, per minute. Like we will give 5 liters of blood to our whole body. But here it will be only 2.5 liters per minute. But still, it's a decent amount, because something is better than nothing, isn't it? So the third one, nitroprusside, sodium nitroprusside, it's like pre and after load. It will reduce the pre and after load also. Okay, so this is also vasodilator only. What it will do? This will do the both functions. Okay, it will dilate the vesicles. It will handle the filling of the ventricles, and contraction of the ventricles, relaxation of the ventricles. This will handle these three things. Okay, next one is beta blockers. Beta blockers are like reversing the symptoms. Why we will give the beta blockers? Because beta blockers will suppress the contractility. In some conditions, sometimes contraction will be more, but the relaxation of the heart muscle will be less. At that time also, our heart will go into stroke. So here, what is happening? Beta blockers will reduce the contractility. It will compensate. So the relaxation and the contraction will be normal now. And it will also depress the ejection fraction. Okay, but we should not take this beta blockers alone, because as I told you, this contractility and everything will be reduced. That's why we have to include this with ACE inhibitors. Okay, ma? So when we are taking this beta blockers, we have to be very careful with some patients. Like the first point, we have some guidelines when we are taking this beta blockers. Like we should not give this beta blockers to the severe patients. Like if the patient have this stroke, and this is second or third stroke, we won't suggest this beta blocker to that patient, because this will reduce the contractility. Okay, if that is worsen condition, if it is starting stage, it might be relaxation or contraction problem. But when it got worsen condition, it might be the both relaxation and also or and contraction. Okay, at that condition, if I give this beta blockers, what it will do, it will decrease the contractility of the heart. When it is decreasing the contraction, what will happen? The patient may die. Okay, that's why we won't suggest this one, this type of beta blockers to this patients, severe patients. And not only that, we won't give this drug to the episode patients. Like if the person is getting this chest pain again and again, not the stroke but chest pain again and again, then we won't suggest this beta blockers to them. Okay, ma? And if we are taking this one, we have to start with very low dosage, that is 10. Even we can take 5 mg per day also. Okay, so when we got like when we have habituated to this drug, then we can increase to uh, 50 mg per day. Okay, ma? Next one is, I already told you, we can't introduce beta blockers to the heart failure conditions. It will worsen the conditions. So we should not give to it. And we have to remember this. So the next one is cardiac glycosides. Cardiac glycosides, the other name we can call it as cardiac inotropic drugs. Why we are calling this as inotropic? This affects on our ions, sodium, calcium and potassium. That's why we will call it as cardiac inotropic drugs. Okay, so the main drug of this is Distalis. Previously, when there are no any drug like diuretics, AC inhibitors or beta blockers, we used to use this Distalis only. Okay, which we can easily extract from trees leaves. As I told you in introduction, we are still using this cardiac glycoside along with other drugs like AC inhibitors or beta blockers like that. Okay, ma? So in cardiac glycoside, let's see the mechanism of action, what it will do. First one, this digoxin, what it will inhibit this sodium potassium ATPase pump. So when it is inhibiting this sodium potassium ATPase pump, this sodium potassium won't go out and in, isn't it? In introduction yesterday I told you, like sodium will more sodium enters rapidly into our cytosol, isn't it? This won't happen because when there is more sodium and more calcium, this will increase the contraction levels also. So we need moderate contraction and moderate relaxation. For that reason, we will give this Distalis. And the next one is, it will increase the concentration of sodium ions inside the cell. Okay, and it will also maintain the calcium levels inside the cell. When there is moderate calcium levels, yesterday in introduction I told, when there is increased calcium level, it will continuously increase. Sarcolemma will take this calcium more. When it is taking this calcium more, it will contract more, isn't it? That's why it will maintain everything in medium. But why we won't take it more, why we are not suggesting more? Because when there is reduction in this sodium and potassium pump, sodium ions will be more inside, potassium ions will be more outside, so they will be repeated contraction, there won't be much relaxation over here. That's why we will give this. So let's see the pharmacological action of Distalis. Okay, in cardiac action, what Distalis will do, it will inhibit sodium potassium pump ATPase, and also it will stimulate the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve will be in our brain, which will contract, okay, which is used in contraction. But this won't directly show effect on our heart, but it will show indirect effect on our heart. Okay, vagus stimulation will be like each and every muscle will get contracted. So we should not give when the patient is pregnant. Okay, and increase myocardial contractility due to positive inotropic. Now only I told more calcium and sodium are inside. That's why contractility will be increased. Heart rate will be reduced. Okay, will get reduced. And let's see the adverse effects. First adverse effects in GIT, it causes nausea, vomiting, anorexia. Anorexia means the patient will be very conscious that they don't want to eat. Okay, and diarrhea. This diarrhea is only occasional. Okay, most of the patient won't see this diarrhea, but few patients they will feel this diarrhea. And in kidneys, they will show diuresis. The patient will go for frequent urination. In CNS, it will do CNS stimulant, so the patient will be very anxious every time, and they will get confused, and they will be having blurred vision and disorientation. Pharmacokinetics, we will administer orally, okay, daily. And if we are taking with food, it will delay the absorption of this drug. That's why we will suggest with empty stomach. Okay, widely distributed in our body, and more concentrated on heart. Distalis, as it is distalis, it will concentrate more on heart, liver, and kidney and skeletal muscles, because distalis will show more effect on muscles only. Okay, and as in adverse effects also we have seen, that is due to it is crossing our blood brain barrier. When it is crossing blood brain barrier, it will excite the patient, it will do confusion, and it will do blur, it will blur our vision, like that. And it is excreted in our urine. Okay, and we should be very careful with the patients who have this renal failure. Okay, and uses is like atrial fibrillation and atrial flutter and CHF. And phosphodiesterase 3 inhibitor. This is a drug which will reverse the worsen conditions of the heart. Okay, so what it will do, it will also uh, do inotropic this thing action. So positive inotropes will increase in intracellularly, so it will increase the contraction. And we will what it will do, it will hydrolyze the CAMP. Okay, so intracellular CAMP will get increased. So when it is increasing, when CAMP is increasing, it will activate the protein kinase, it will do more protein kinase. Okay, and calcium levels will increase intracellularly, so it will activate the channels of the it will activate the sarcolemmal calcium channels. When it is activating the calcium channels, calcium ions will come inside more, and this will do the inotropic function. Okay, so we will give this through IV. Okay, thank you.